media and trying to expose their lies as they go on and on against Pakistan in a very different situation currently, because right now their wing commander, the Air Force pilot that had been arrested by Pakistan, is currently waiting at Wagah border to be transferred back to the Indian side, and the Indians are hailing him as a hero coming back home. And of course, how the whole process, how the whole conflict has been covered by the Indian media. We're going to talk about that. We have Musharraf Zaidi, who's a senior analyst, here with us. Musharraf, of course, you've been following the Twitter war that's been happening between Pakistanis and Indians, as well as the actual skirmish that happened at the border. How do you see how this whole process, how the whole conflict has been covered by the Indian side as compared to the Pakistanis?
Well, there's been a big difference in the way that Pakistanis have reacted to this. I think one of the most important lessons from all this is the value of our resolve and our courage and our maturity as a country to be able to deal with this crisis in the way that we have, as opposed to the way that we've dealt with this. The Indians have been juvenile and clearly incapable of engaging in a mature conversation. I don't think Indians realize the seriousness of war. Pakistanis know the seriousness of war because we've been in one for over a decade and a half. So I think the difference is quite clear, and I think Pakistanis should be very proud of the way that the media, their government, and public figures have dealt with this crisis.
And even today, when we are handing back their Air Force officer as a prisoner of war who's being released by Pakistan as a peace gesture, even at this time, they are trying to twist the fact, trying to put a spin on it, and saying Pakistan was forced to act under pressure, and they're actually welcoming him home as a hero. I think they really need to redefine what a hero is.
For some reason, I wasn't able to hear you clearly.
I'm just trying to get your point of view on how the Indian media is covering today's events. They're trying to portray the wing commander as a hero, coming back to a hero's welcome, and they're also trying to make sure that they put in that statement that Pakistan has been forced to act under pressure.
So I think I said this on social media as well. I don't think that we necessarily need to react to this provocation, because I don't think this is about Pakistan. This is really about India. I'm not sure India really knew what its objective was when they engaged Pakistan in this little battle, and so I think the Indian leadership needs to be able to demonstrate something that allows them some sort of face saving. And if this is the off ramp that allows them the face saving that they need, then I think we should be okay with that. We know what happened. I think the world community knows what's happened. The U.S. and other Western sort of reporters and analysts have done a deep dive on the situation, and they've all agreed that the Pakistani sort of version of what happened in Balakot is correct. And I think everyone, including the UN Secretary General, has lauded the bravery and the courage that it took for Pakistan to choose to hand over the pilot voluntarily in such a short period of time. So I think, as I said earlier, I think Pakistanis have a lot to be proud of.
And of course, we should also be proud of the fact that Imran Khan has come out as a statesman, and it's being accepted all around the world. The gesture that he made by releasing the Indian Air Force officer in such a short time, as you mentioned. And of course, there is a hashtag calling for Nobel Peace Prize to be given to Imran Khan. You think Imran Khan has played really well in the last 2-3 days during the conflict, and has outsmarted Modi when it comes to people appreciating his gestures?
I think the talk about a Nobel Prize is premature, although given that Obama was given a Nobel Prize, I think we should start the Nobel Prize awards with Naeem ul-Haq and Fawad Chaudhry, and we'll get to Imran Khan later. But I think that, as I said earlier, the resolve and the maturity with which the Prime Minister conducted himself, the two speeches that he gave, the clarity of the way he spoke, the fact that he recognized the pain and the agony that many Indians would have dealt after Pulwama. I thought that was incredibly brave and courageous. His speech in Parliament and his offer to send back their wing commander, equally impressive. So Pakistanis have a lot to be happy about in terms of the maturity of their leadership. I do think that instead of being celebratory about this, we also need to be reflective. But I think if we take a couple of days to be happy about how our leadership conducted itself, there's nothing.
And how do you compare that to how Modi has been conducting himself? Prime Minister Modi has not been seen in public for the last 3-4 days since this has happened, and he only spoke about the wing commander yesterday, and that too through a telephonic conference to BJP workers. Why do you think he's not coming and facing the media at this crucial time?
Modi is never particularly keen to engage on terms defined by anybody other than him. But also remember that Modi is a masterful manipulator of public discourse. He has managed to convince otherwise nice people, great people of India, that he's a good leader, despite his record as a mass murderer. So I think that we need to be very careful in prejudging or judging too early, how Modi is going to fare. I think he's a very wily and manipulative politician who's capable of coming back. And what we should hope is that the cost of that coming back is not the peace and stability of our region.
Okay, I'd like you to stay with me. I'll be including Anas Malik in the conversation. He's our special correspondent. He's been at the Wagah border since morning today and been covering all the events that have been happening there. Of course, Anas, what do you think is holding back the handing over of the Indian Air Force pilot? Is this a procedural delay, or there is something else happening over there that we are not being privy to?
Well, certainly not. It is indeed a procedural delay, Shahzad. As you speak, the last information that came through was the fact that his medical was ongoing. Therefore, the delay. Remember, he was to be handed over earlier around 3 p.m. But due to his shift that was not being able to be managed from Islamabad or elsewhere to Lahore, and due to that delay, the delay came in first on the handover, and now because of this medical checkup, because that is a formality that has to be done whenever there is a military or military personnel on either side, which is being handed over. So as we speak, the last information that came through roughly 25 minutes ago was that his medical checkup, Wing Commander Abhinandan's medical checkup, was being conducted in Lahore at an undisclosed location. So once, as and when it's done, then he'd surely be on the way. The time that we're anticipating, or what we're being told, is roughly about 8 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time, is when Wing Commander of the Indian Air Force, Abhinandan, is likely to arrive at the Wagah border. Yes, Shahzad.
All right, thank you, Anas Malik. So there's still a few minutes before Wing Commander is handed over back to the Indian. We have also been joined by Mehmal Sarfraz. She's an analyst and she's been speaking with us on this special presentation that we've been holding every day to debunk the lies that have been coming out of the Indian side. Mehmal, once again, I'd like to ask you, how do you see the Indian media coverage of... all right, we're not joined by Mehmal Sarfraz yet. We're coming back to Musharraf Zaidi. Musharraf, of course, the Indian... All right, Mehmal has now joined us. Mehmal, how do you see Indian media's coverage of today's events? They've been portraying the Wing Commander as a hero coming back. Do you think they need to redefine what a hero is?
Well, the thing is that Shahzad, even if our own pilot was coming back, we would have called him a hero despite being a prisoner of war. Soldiers are heroes. Look, they're fighting for their own respective countries. So that's fine. But at the end of the day, the Indian media has changed its tone also. If you see their coverage from Tuesday till now, they've actually changed their tone from that of a victor to somebody who's actually saying that, Imran Khan has won the PR war by announcing to release their captured pilot. And today, I don't know if you saw that or not, but a lot of papers in India, especially the Telegraph, they compared what leadership means. They compared Prime Minister Imran Khan with Prime Minister Modi. And, and they actually said, there were headlines that, Prime Minister Imran Khan has won this round. So this is actually something that they've toned down their rhetoric. There are just obviously there are some channels like Times Now or Republic or very hawkish channels who are not going to change their line and who are actually going to portray this as their victory when it's not. But overall, the Indian media has really toned down.
Okay, Mehmal and Musharraf, do watch this, what I'm going to play right now. This was an Indian anchor. Of course, he was trying to portray himself as an expert on aviation, and he also had an expert with him in the studio. This is a clip that has been viral on Facebook and Twitter right now, but I'll show it to you again. This is Rahul, who's supposed to be a very senior anchor. Let's see what he said and what the expert told him back about his knowledge of the F-16 and the MiG-21 that have been shot down.
F-16 and how the Indian Air Force knows this is an F-16 is because if you see this part, and Abhijit can explain it to us, it's the exact same part coming straight out of an F-16 fighter aircraft. This is what Pakistan is trying to lie about, and that second lie also caught and exposed, Abhijit.
So I don't think that's entirely accurate. That part is actually a MiG-21 part because the engine that's being shown out there is a GE F-100. The Pakistanis use the Pratt & Whitney. So the Pratt & Whitney actually has a diamond pattern. So it can't either be the engine cowling there, nor can it be the ribs that hold the engine, because the F-16's interior looks very different to that. So that's not...
So that's pretty funny, the way the expert was trying to be very polite while dissing the claims that were being put forward by the anchor. Musharraf, I'm sure you've seen this clip, and there are more clips like this as well. How do you see this as the rumors that have been coming out of there, the blatant lies that have been put forward by the Indian media? Do we have Musharraf Zaidi with us? Okay, Mehmal, of course, I'm sure you've also seen this clip. What do you say about it?
Yes, actually, I saw that Abhijit Iyer is a defense expert. So, yes, he put Rahul Kanwal to shame about this. And it's actually quite irresponsible of the Indian media to claim something like this, because so far we have not seen any evidence of F-16 being shot down by the Indian side. We have their pilot and we have their plane as well. So that's different. But as I said, that actually it's just for face saving what they're doing right now, because the thing is that after we retaliated, it has put India in a position where Pakistan has kind of emerged. I mean, obviously, as Prime Minister Imran Khan said, that there's no victor in war, and I agree with him because I'm totally anti-war. But in this entire episode, Pakistan has done something that has put India on the back foot, because and also Modi on the back foot.
And I'll also show you a clip of the F-16 they showed on a very prestigious channel, very old channel, Z News, and this is what they showed as the F-16 Naswar that is apparently sold in Pakistan, and somebody put it out on Twitter and they actually used that image to show what an F-16 looks like. I'm surprised they couldn't find a photo of an F-16 on Google.
That happens. I think it's just, as I said, it's just a face-saving thing, because this retaliation has done more damage to India than what India has done to Pakistan. So it has also put a dent in Mr. Modi's election campaign. And I don't know if you heard his speech today or not. He was saying that this is new India, and in new India we're going to fight terror and we're going to respond terror. So he was like, it seems that it was different from what he was saying on Tuesday. The kind of confidence, there was not that much confidence. And then his official account also tweeted against political parties, criticizing him. So something which this is just because of the upcoming Indian elections that we're seeing over there. I mean, they didn't really have to attack us, but it was only done because the elections are just 2 months away.
And of course, there is this one more clip that I've been seeing since last night, and I couldn't stop laughing, and I just wanted to share it here with our viewers. Trevor Noah, a very famous comedian, describing what an India-Pakistan war would look like. Let's hear it.
don't go to war. But if they did go to war, it would probably be the most entertaining war of all time, yeah? Because the Indian soldiers would run out on the battlefield and they'd be like, time for you to die! Life difficult, it would also be the longest war of all time. Another dance number?
Well, of course, that was just pure comedy, and Trevor Noah does it really nice, and of course describing very nicely what a Bollywood army would eventually do when it does face Pakistan. Like, of course, coming back to a serious note, Mehmal, the OIC invited Sushma Swaraj as a special observer, as a special guest. She was invited by the United Arab Emirates, which is a host to the OIC summit. How do you see this procedure? Because according to the rules of the OIC, if any member state has a conflict with any other state, that state or any representative of that state cannot be invited to a conference. They still went ahead with the invitation. How do you look at that?
Shahzad, to be honest, I was actually listening to Raz Khokhar Saab last night on a television show, and he said that Pakistan should not it should not boycott the session, the OIC moot, because what if they decide to give observer status to India when we are not there? And I also talked to a very senior former diplomat today, and he said actually this is very shocking that the UAE did not even consult Pakistan before inviting Sushma Swaraj as a guest of honor at OIC. And this actually shows that, we are kind of isolated even within the Muslim Ummah. And this is very, very alarming. And by boycotting, and this gentleman said to me that, we must not boycott it. And this is a very wrong and bad decision, because it sends a very bad signal to the world. Also, it shows our weakness. And as you see that the Pakistan People's Party, both Asif Ali Zardari and Chairman PPP Bilawal Bhutto have also said that we should have gone and we should not have boycotted this OIC session. So, I mean, what they could have done was that Shah Mahmood Qureshi, and which was the original plan, that he was going to abstain from the inaugural session where Sushma Swaraj was going to give a speech. So he should have just done that, but to avoid something like this, to completely boycott it, sends a very wrong signal, wrong message, and it also puts us in isolation, international isolation. This is not on, and this will have very serious repercussions in the future for us.
Of course. So the diplomatic front, according to you, needs to be really revved up. We need to work more on the diplomatic front to get countries who are supposed to be on our side in the Organization of Islamic Countries to actually favor us by putting out statements much more in favor of Pakistan rather than India. But of course, we do see that the Chief of Army Staff has called all the major powers and has informed them that Pakistan would retaliate to any aggression by India. So this does tell you something, that Pakistan still expects India to respond militarily.
Look, the thing is, Shahzad, when the Tuesday strike happened by India first, the first Indian aggression, what we saw from the international community and even China, except I think it was just Turkey that condemned the attack. Apart from Turkey, no other country in the world condemned India for their aggression. All they said was that, even China said that, it's a global practice to hit back at terrorist targets. So this was something that was very, very shocking, and it should have been very worrying for us. When we retaliated, then the world woke up and started saying things like, there must be restraint, and these are two nuclear countries, they must act responsibly. So it was only then that the tone changed. But I must say that, yes, Pakistan has actually shown the world that, we are not going to take this lying down if India, we are ready for whatever India has planned, which is why I think that the international community was mobilized yesterday, and they did play some part, especially the US, Saudi Arabia and UAE, in mediating between Pakistan and India and diffusing the situation to an extent, because as Prime Minister Imran Khan himself said in Parliament the other day, that, we were expecting a missile strike on Wednesday. And the international community then actually did get into it. That's what I'm hearing from a lot of government sources.
All right. But of course, in the end, I would also like to ask you your reaction to the way Twitter is responding to Prime Minister Imran Khan. There's actually a hashtag that's calling for a Nobel Peace Prize to be given to Imran Khan because of the way he's handled the conflict. Would you agree?
Well, on the Nobel thing, actually, I don't agree on that unless and until, we resolve the Kashmir dispute. But I do think that full marks to Prime Minister Imran Khan and full marks to Pakistan for handling the way that they've handled this situation. And we've actually done a great job at that. And, we've shown the world that we're united in the face of aggression and any external threat. So, and also we've given a message of peace. That's what Pakistan did. After the Pulwama attack, we called for peace. After the first strike, we called for peace. After retaliation, we called for peace and for talks. So this is something that the Pakistani side has done, and so far the Indian side has not responded. So this is actually something that, Pakistan has given a proper message that we are a peaceful state. We do not support terrorism. We would not allow our soil to be used for terrorism. So, but don't push us to retaliate.
And of course, there is another hashtag that says "Go Back Modi." That is the top trend in India for the last few hours. So, of course, people are speaking out against Prime Minister Modi and his policies.
No, all the opposition parties are speaking out against Modi, and they're saying, please don't use this attack as your election campaign, and don't let your ego get in the way of peace, and don't let our forces suffer because of your electoral victory. At the cost of electoral victory, yes.
Thank you very much. Mohammad Sarfraz, Musharraf Zaidi also joined us, senior analyst. Thanks to him too. Anas Malik was reporting to us live from the Wagah border, where we are still expecting a slight delay around 8 Pakistan Standard Time, approximately 20 minutes from now. This wing commander who was captured by Pakistan, Abhinandan, would be handed over back to the Indians, and the Indians are treating him like a hero coming back, which I fail to understand because he failed in his mission. He got caught by the Indian forces, was saved by the Pakistani forces, and treated really well here, and now being sent back after a proper thorough medical check and a psychological test. So it's full marks to Pakistan for handling the situation really well. And of course, the Indian media needs to wake up and smell the coffee and understand that their rhetoric is not being accepted even by their own people. If you go through Twitter, you go through Facebook, you'll realize that the Indian media is not buying the propaganda being dished out by these channels and these anchors that go on warmongering as we speak, even when we are handing back the wing commander as a peace gesture. This has been a special presentation for Facebook Like at GNN. I'm Shahzad Hassan. Thank you very much.